Hello, grade 12, and welcome to a new lecture. Today, I'm giving you a revision worksheet. The theme is still environment, of course, because we're revising the ideas and the concepts in this theme, and of course, the reading skills that we have taken so far. The title of this worksheet is called Land and Water. And as we know, land and water are the precious resources that we cannot, as humans and other species on Earth, we cannot survive without. Now let's start with reading the worksheet. Read the selection below about the conditions and availability of land and water resources and then answer the questions that follow. Land and water. Paragraph 1. There is a significant geographic variation in the availability of land considered suitable for agriculture. Okay, so what the author means here is that the amount of land that is acceptable to plant crops on, crops are plants that we eat, okay, is limited. It's not highly available. There's a limited amount of land where we could plant for agriculture. The problem of population growth places much pressure on available resources of water and land. Of course, as we know, if you want to plant a piece of land with crops, okay, for harvest, you need a lot of water. And water in many parts of the world is scarce. It is not readily available. Currently, cultivated land, this is land that's planted with crops, we call it cultivated land, or land prepared for growing plants and crops, they said it here, is mostly of good quality due to the use of well-adapted production systems. The highest regional proportion of prime or good quality land currently cultivated is found in Central America and the Caribbean. 42% of cultivated land that is planted for crops is in Central America and the Caribbean, followed by Western and Central European lands, 38%, and North America, 37%. Paragraph 2, for high-income countries as a whole, what we mean by high-income countries is the rich countries of the world, like the US, Canada, parts of Europe. The share of good quality prime land is currently cultivated land is just 30%. So in those rich countries, good quality of land is only at 30%. In low-income countries, soils are often poor and only 28% of total cultivated land is classified as prime. Prime, of course, we mean very good for planting or cultivation. Paragraph 3, the world's cultivated area has grown by 12% over the last 15 years. Okay, so that tells a lot. We need more land to produce crops. The global area irrigated with watered, okay, pipes has doubled over the same period, accounting for most of the increase in cultivated land. Also, agricultural production has grown between 2 and 3 times thanks to significant increase in the production of major crops. Again, crops are plants that we eat, like beans, like vegetables, like fruits, wheat. All of those are called crops. Paragraph 4, however, global achievements in production in some regions have been associated with decrease in land and water resources. Okay, so we are having a problem with the amount of land and water available for cultivation and the deterioration of ecosystem, goods and services. So the ecosystem for planting is deteriorating, becoming worse. These include carbon storage, soil health, water storage and supply, biodiversity, and social and cultural services. Agriculture already uses 11% of the world's land surface for crop production. It also makes use of 70% of all the water. You see, how much water is needed for agriculture, withdrawn from streams and lakes. Agricultural policies have primarily benefited farmers with productive land and access to water, bypassing the majority of small-scale producers who are still locked in a poverty trap of high vulnerability, ruined land, and climatic uncertainty. So those who are benefiting from agriculture are the big landowners. They are able to get water sources, they have the income, they have the money. Yet those small farmers, how can they put water sources? They need long meters of pipes, they need technology, all sorts of things that would cost a lot of money. So they're not benefiting from this. Paragraph 5. The plans of land and water institutions have not kept pace with the increasing degree of interdependence and competition over land and water resource. Okay, as humans, of course, when there is a limited resource, we compete over it. Much more adaptable and collaborative institutions and policies are needed to respond effectively to natural resource scarcity and market opportunities. Again, the word scarcity means when there is lack of something, very little of something. For example, there is scarcity of water in the desert. Paragraph 6. Toward 2050, rising population and incomes are expected to call for 70% more food production globally and up to 100% more in developing countries relative to 2009 levels. Yet, the distribution of land and water resources does not favor those countries that need to produce more in the future. The availability of cultivated land in low-income countries is less than half that of high-income countries, and the suitability of cultivated land for cropping is generally low. Some countries with rapidly growing demand for food are also those that face high levels of land or water scarcity. So, if you think about the countries of the world, where is the population increasing more rapidly? In the West or in the East, in developing countries or in developed countries? Of course, in developing countries, in poor countries. Yet, it is those same countries that are unable to provide or to get enough land and water sources. Paragraph 7. The prevailing manner of agricultural production needs to be critically reviewed. A series of land and water systems now face the menace of the breakdown of their productive capacity under a combination of excessive demographic pressure. Guys, demographic means population. Okay, when you see the prefix demo, D-E-M-O, it means people. For example, democracy means the rule of people. Demographic, okay, population. So there's demographic pressure and unsustainable agricultural practices. So maybe in this piece of land, you can't plant tomatoes every year because the land will be depleted. Yet in those countries, they're unable to plant something else, or they are unable to provide fertilizers or seeds. So this agricultural practice is unsustainable. The word sustainable means lasts for a very, very long time, yet this practice is unsustainable in this case. It's limited, okay? The limited availability of land and water within these systems may be further exacerbated in places by external threats, including climate change, competition with other sectors, and socio-economic changes. They require priority attention for corrective actions simply because there are no substitutes. So again, we conclude from this is that the poor countries will be the ones who will suffer most in the future. The potential conditions, so the conditions that are pre-existing now, to expand production efficiently in order to address food security and poverty while limiting negative impacts on other ecosystem values. Okay, the term food security, you probably heard this term a lot in Lebanon in recent months. Okay, Do we have food security in Lebanon? Are we able to provide enough food for the people at acceptable prices when many Lebanese have gone under the poverty line? Do we have food security in Lebanon? So this is a big issue for developing countries. There is a chance for governments and the private sector, including farmers, to take more actions for improving management practices to ensure sustainable land and water resources. So this is what they need to be working on in those developing countries. Actions include technical things that need to be done so that this issue doesn't continue on and on. Paragraph 9. Options to promote sustainable resources and reduce production risks. Land and water management practices will require a global political determination to financially support and encourage wise agricultural policies. Okay? Does Lebanon have wise agricultural policies? Okay, are they taking the right decisions in the government as to what areas need to be cultivated? Are they taking care of the agricultural sector, providing sustainable land, providing water for the farmers as they should? Are the policies right? Will they sustain farming in Lebanon and in other developing countries? Only by these changes can the world feed its citizens through a sustainable agriculture that produces within environmental limits. Okay, you don't have access to good land, cultivated land, and enough water, your country will probably starve, as is happening in many places around the world, notably Africa. Okay, so this is the article. Let's take a look at the questions. I have explained the questions in detail. Based on paragraph 4, how were farmers affected by agricultural policies? This is paragraph 4 here. However, global achievements in production in some regions have been associated with decrease in land and water resources and deterioration of ecosystem goods and services. Okay, agriculture already uses 11% of the world's land surface. It also makes use of 70% of all water withdrawn from streams and lakes. Agricultural policies have primarily benefited farmers with productive land and access to water, bypassing the majority of small-scale producers. So the poor farmers are really being left out because they don't have the means to get water and to cultivate their land as they should. So the answer: agricultural policies supported farmers whose land is productive and have access to water, while vulnerable or weak small-scale producers remained under the threat of land degradation and climate changes. Number 2, what is the main idea of paragraph 3? Let's take a look at paragraph 3, displayed here. The world's cultivated area has grown by 12% over the last 50 years. The global area irrigated with water pipes has doubled over the same period, accounting for most of the increase in cultivated land. Also, agricultural production has grown between 2 and 3 times thanks to significant increase in production of major crops. So basically, the main idea is in this paragraph is that cultivated land is increasing, and thus the need for water for irrigation. Number 3, according to paragraph 5, why do land and water systems now face production breakdown? Okay, paragraph 7 here. The prevailing manner of agricultural production needs to be critically reviewed. A series of land and water systems now face the menace or danger of the breakdown. Why? Let's see. Under a combination of excessive demographic pressure, and I said it means pressure of overpopulation. There's a lot of people and it's increasing a lot. and unsustainable agricultural practices. They don't practice an agriculture that will last for a very long time. Okay, and there's limited availability of land and water within these systems. There's climate change, there's competition with the private sectors, socioeconomic changes. All of those are affecting. Now, based on paragraph 2, what conclusion can be drawn about the availability of prime land in different countries? And we said that prime land is land that can be cultivated. You can plant in this land. How available is it? For high-income countries as a whole, the share of good quality prime land is currently cultivated land is just 30%. So that's not even a lot, even in rich countries. In low-income countries, soils are often poor and only 28% of total cultivated land is classified as prime. So not much difference there. So let's read the answers together. As we said here, what's the main idea of paragraph 3? There has been some increase in the growth of cultivated area and agricultural production, yes. Number 2, of course, why do land and water systems now face production breakdown? Because productive capacity might not be able to meet the demands of demographic increase with unsustainable agricultural practices. Obviously, this is number 3. Based on paragraph 2, what conclusion can be drawn about the availability of prime land in different countries? Both high and low income countries are suffering from limited availability of prime land. The author said in rich countries it's just 30%. In poorer countries it's 28%. So not much difference there. Okay, there needs to be more land because the population everywhere is increasing. Now, here is a chart where you have the heading and you need to say which paragraph this heading belongs to. So this would be like a subtitle for the paragraph, okay? Policies and institutions, where did they talk about that? Enabling conditions, conditions that will allow small-scale farmers to plant. System at risk, in which paragraph did they talk about that? Of course, before you do this, you're going to have to write the main idea as a phrase near each paragraph to be able to figure out the paragraphs here, the headings, okay? Policies and institutions were talked about in paragraph 5. And notice here, there is no S between brackets. If there's an S between brackets, it means it could be one paragraph or more than one paragraph. In this case, it's just one. Enabling conditions, conditions that will allow farmers to work in better conditions, that's 8. Future perspective in paragraph 6. System at risk, they talked about it in paragraph 7. Okay, part C, based on the indicated paragraphs, what does each of the following underlined pronouns refer to? They in paragraph 7. There it is. Let's take a look. You need to read before and you need to read after, okay? The limited availability of land and water within these systems may be further exacerbated in places by external threats, including climate change, competition with other sectors, and socioeconomic changes. They require priority attention. What requires priority action? Obviously, the limited availability of land and water. Okay, agricultural production needs more attention. Those in paragraph 6, let's take a look. Some countries with rapidly growing demand for food are also those that face high levels of land and water scarcity. Okay, obviously, countries with rapidly growing demand for food. How do we write it? Okay, they, paragraph 7, refers to land and water systems. Those, paragraph 6, refers to countries. Part D, what is the thematic relationship between paragraphs 3 and 4? Whenever you have such a question, you need to take a look at the first sentence or the first few words in the other in the other paragraph, the latter paragraph, okay? Notice the word however. Yet, let us read first before we make any conclusions. Okay, here in paragraph 3, they're talking about how cultivated area has grown by 12% in the last 50 years. The global area irrigated with water pipes has doubled, okay, an increase in cultivation. Production has grown between 2 and 3 times thanks to significant increase in the production. So in paragraph 3, we're talking about the growth of cultivated land. And the author starts paragraph 4 by saying, however, okay, global achievements in production in some regions have been associated with decrease in land and water resources and the deterioration of ecosystem goods and services. So obviously the thematic relation here between the two paragraphs is one of contrast. Here the author is talking about the increase in cultivated land, and in paragraph 4 he's talking about how it affected or it deteriorated the ecosystem goods and services. How do we answer such a question? We say it is a thematic relationship of contrast. Why? In paragraph 3, the writer explains the growth in production over the last 50 years. In paragraph 4, the writer uses the word however. Tell me the clue word, please, to explain how the achievements in production negatively affected land and water resources and other services. And that's it. Okay, next skill question is tone. How would you best describe the writer's tone? Even if I don't tell you 2 adjectives, please give me 2 adjectives, even if they're similar. How would you state the writer's tone in paragraph 7? Where do we get the tone from? Obviously from the writer's choice of words, and the tone is always an adjective, okay? The writer is angry, the writer is sarcastic, critical, humorous, apologetic, etc. Let's read. The prevailing manner of agricultural production needs to be critically reviewed. So obviously here the author is advising, okay? A series of land and water systems now face menace, okay? Danger, menace means danger. So he's also warning breakdown of their productive capacity under a combination of excessive demographic pressure and unsustainable agricultural practices. The limited availability of land exacerbated. Take a look at the words he uses. Menace, exacerbated means made worse, critically reviewed, okay? Threats, okay? Warning, all of those are warning words. There's competition, socioeconomic changes, attention, corrective actions, okay? So how can we write the tone here? The writer's tone in paragraph 7 is worried, alarmed, and warning. By using, or if you say because, he uses words such as menace, which is danger, breakdown, limited availability, further exacerbated threats, and no substitutes. Warning, alarmed here is also an adjective. He is alarmed, worried. So this is how we answer such a question. Now, number 3, the following is a poor version of a one-sentence summary of paragraph 5. Rewrite it correctly. Guys, this is the bad summary. They gave you how you shouldn't write it. This is not what you want to summarize. This is the bad summary. You need to write your own. Let's read paragraph 5 together. The plans of land and water institutions have not kept pace with the increasing degree of interdependence and competition over land and water resources. Much more adaptable and collaborative institutions and policies are needed to respond effectively to natural resources scarcity and market opportunities. Okay, so the author here is saying that much more work needs to be done. Better policies need to be taken in order to avoid this issue. This is how we should write it. Of course, citation before anything. This is 1/3 of your grade. If you don't cite, you already lost 1/3 of the grade. That's if you don't make spelling mistakes, sentence structure mistakes, idea mistakes. So please get that one third point. In paragraph 5 of the article Land and Water, the author explains that because of the competition over resources, collaborative policies and institutions are needed to deal with resources scarcity and market demands. One sentence summary, the whole thing. A sentence is not a line, by the way. A sentence starts with a capital letter and ends with an end mark. This is what a sentence is. A comma does not end a sentence. A line is not a sentence. A sentence ends with a full stop. Okay? Moving on, name 2 types of audience who might be interested in reading the above article. Well, this is my answer. One type of audience that might be interested in reading the article are planners in governments where resources are scarce, such as developing countries. In a country like Lebanon, maybe in the Ministry of the Interior or in the planning ministry, which we don't have, there should be planners who say that this land is for cultivation, this land is for building, this land is a community center, okay, this land is for commerce. So a planner in a government would be interested in reading such an article, okay? Another type of audience might be ecologists, people who work with the environment, okay, care for the environment's well-being, and can help manage the problem of resource scarcity. What does the author resort? Why does the author resort to using statistics in the article? Why? Only one answer to this question whenever you are asked. The author resorts to using statistics in the article in order to achieve credibility, objectivity, and authenticity. It's important that you include all 3. Even though they all basically mean the same, you have to write all 3 of them for you to get the full mark in the official exam. Okay? Part E, obviously extracts, and as I have said time and time again, in order to know where this extract belongs and this extract belongs, you should have read each paragraph alone and written the main idea of it next to it. Then you go back, you find out that extract A, demand for agricultural production, especially higher value production, is rising strongly in low-income countries in Africa as the continent urbanizes and as economic growth accelerates in some countries. Okay, here this, okay, obviously belongs to one of those. And extract B, yet the world's net prime areas that have grown over the last years were mostly at the expense of forest and grassland habitats at the same time. The global irrigated area that has doubled made the distribution of these lands and water assets unequal among countries. Okay, so this is how we write it. Extract A fits paragraph 2. Extract B fits paragraph 3. You chose the extract, you're still hesitant, okay, you're not sure about it, read the paragraph and continue reading the extract and see if it makes sense, okay? And this is how you check your work. Now, the vocab, using context clues. Go back in order to figure out what pace means if you don't already know it. And anyway, go back to the text in paragraph 5. Scarcity in paragraph 5. Okay, pace is the speed at which something occurs. Scarcity, as I said, is when something is lacking very, very low amounts. Suitability, is it suitable? Is it appropriate? Menace means danger. Availability, whether there's enough of it. Now, there is a broad international agreement that terrorist acts are to economic activities. Terrorist acts, okay, are a menace, are a threat or a danger. The number of exotic flowers planted in this soil is rapidly decreasing due to a problem in the quality of soil and in its for such kind of flowers, in its suitability for such kind of flowers. Is it suitable to plant such exotic flowers? It's not suitable. The of economic growth in our country was quite rapid. There's the context clue, fast. So we're talking about speed or pace. Diseases are killing people daily due to the of medicine in the region. There is no medicine. Scarcity, or there's very little of it. Okay? And those are the answers. Okay, then your next quiz will be related to this theme and will obviously be related to the reading skills that we took in this worksheet. So please go through it very carefully and see you. Bye-bye.